John Meyer, and I'm excited to announce that the very first sample instrument that I made for the piano book community, called the Flute+Violin, has now grown up into a Spitfire LABS instrument. Just over a year ago, I made my first sample instrument. I was inspired by Christian Henson's videos and by the newly formed piano book community, so I decided to see if I could take a student violin. As for the violin, I absolutely do not know how to play it. And combine that with a Native American flute that was made by my brother-in-law's father. I can make some sounds out of it, but they're not all that great, and I certainly don't know how to play the instrument. If you want to know exactly how I went about making the sample, you can go watch the video. It goes into great detail on how I recorded the sounds, the microphones I used, and how I chopped it up in Pro Tools and got it ready to load into Contact. The team at Spitfire has renamed the sound, and it's part of their free range of LABS instruments. So LABS instruments have been around for a long time, and when I was making my transition from recording independent bands in the Dallas area to media composition, I needed sounds, and these sounds were free, and they sounded incredible, and they were usually fairly simple. There wasn't a lot to them, but very useful, and I've used so many, and I love them. And to think that a sound that I made here in this room is now part of that LABS range, and people all over the world are going to download it, well, I can't get over how cool that is. Since this is so important to me personally, I wanted to take some time and tell you more about the story of this sound. I've shared with you how I took the flute and violin and put them together and made something out of it, but I want to go a little deeper and tell you about where the flute actually came from. Last weekend, my family and I took a trip down to Somerville, Texas to visit my parents. If you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I've filmed quite a few of my videos down there. And when I was there, I reached out to my brother-in-law about going to visit his dad in Kerrville, which is about 3 to 4 hours away from Somerville. And he reminded me that he has an airplane and we could just take a flight over there. I don't know how I forgot that important piece of information, but I did. And so we planned on doing that. However, the weather did not cooperate, and you don't want to fly in bad weather. So we head home, and then middle of the week, he calls me up and says, let's try to make this happen. So Saturday morning comes around, Todd picks me up at Dallas Executive Airport at noon, and we know that we've got to go to Kerrville, back to Dallas, and Todd needs to be back by sundown. Hey, that was a smooth landing. What are we getting into right now?
This is an RV-10. I built it, so we're gonna fly and check out some flutes that my dad made.
Where did you start your journey today?
Started in College Station, more or less.
And it took you how long to get here?
It was about an hour. So we'll fly down to Kerrville, and it should be about an hour and a half or so to there from here.
Dallas Executive Ground, Experimental 124 X-ray is at the terminal, ready to taxi with Tango.
Experimental 124 X-ray, Executive Ground, runway 31, taxi be out.
Dallas Executive, Experimental 124 X-ray is ready to go at 31, departing to the southwest.
Where are we right now?
20 miles north of Lampastus.
So this is your second plane. What was the first plane that you built?
It was a Sonex.
Sonex.
Yeah, it was a 2-seat, tiny.
And was most of this plane built in Garland?
All of it was. Yeah.
In your garage?
Yep.
When we landed in Kerrville, Todd's dad, Vernon, picked us up, and Todd and I and Vernon and all my camera gear went back to his house where he had all these flutes ready in different stages to show us how he goes about making these flutes. And I'll let him take it from here.
That's the first tone that it's made. I started building flutes in January of 2016. after we made a trip out to the Grand Canyon, I heard some flutes playing out there in one of the little shops that they got, and it just kind of, that sound stuck with me, and it's just that little haunting sound that it has. It's just phenomenal. It's just something I really got acquired to. Yeah, let's go outside and work out there and do that.
You just aggravated.
These are strange dogs. And then there's the bore, and then this is the slow air chamber right there. So now what we've got to do is drill some holes for our sound hole, and also the smooth air chamber or slow air chamber exit right here. So we'll do that. What I'm doing now is cauterizing the inside of that. It gets rid of a lot of little burrs and stuff like that. This makes a lot of difference to the sound of the flute. I found it gives the higher notes more of a clarity, and it takes away with some of the muffled sound on some of the low notes. And then when it's all painted and the sound hole and the slow air chamber exit are ready to go, then I'll go ahead and we'll glue these things together, and we'll have a nice flute. Okay, we've glued that up now, and it's all glued up, and this sound hole exit hole and the true sound hole are all shaped. This isn't finished yet, so we got to do one more thing to it to finish it. So the air will come out of the slow air chamber and come in across through the flue and hit this sharp edge here on the true sound hole, and it sets the air column into a vibration. The air will come out, and then it goes in, out, and in, and the wave, and that's what actually creates the tone. And the tone that it makes depends on the length from this edge to the end of the flute right here. So this one is going to be an F sharp, is what I've made this one to be. So, and that's probably the most common one that everybody really likes, because it's kind of the mid-range flute. It's really easy to play. So when it's the right diameter, the whole thing will be completed up to here. Okay, now that we've got it all machined down and sandpapered and finished up real nice and smooth, we got to form our slow air chamber exit and the true sound hole. So what we'll do is we'll do a little filing on that. And what that's doing is it's moving the cutting edge down into the airstream. That space, this cutting edge is about a third of the way down into that airstream. And that seems to give you the best sound. What we're ready to do now is to get our dimensions. Okay, we're going to use the F sharp. That's this one. So we'll mark our tape. So we go to 3 3/8, 18. But we're making a 6-hole flute. If you're going to make a 5-hole flute, you just leave that hole out right there, and that gives you your pentatonic 5-hole flute. Little bitty indent right there where you want it. put this block where it's back just a little bit from that back edge of the true sound hole. Perfect F sharp for A440 tuning. Now that we've got our holes fine tuned here, so is everything. We've got everything located. We're good. So let's see. So there we go. This piece right here happens to be a select pine, and it's something that's really easy to work with. It's soft. It gives the flute a nice mellow low tone, which is really popular, especially in the F sharp key. Now is the big question: is how are we going to finish it? That's the big one. This one is actually burnt on the outside and then put clear on it. So it's burnt on the inside and the outside. And it smelled like burnt smoke for a long time. I have actually made 169 flutes now. And that's why I have them all over the place. I've sold some, like I said earlier, that I just use some of the money that I make off of those flutes to buy new materials and finishes and tools and stuff that I need. And so that's how I, that's just enough to just pay for my hobby. There won't be anything included in there for labor, because that's when you really start getting the expense. This is a fun, retired project that I can use to just occupy some of my time and keep me from watching so much television, and that's a lot of fun. So, and I just love the sound of the flute. I'll sit in here sometimes and play for hours.
In an hour and a half, I shot about 200 gigabytes of footage. It was time to come home so we could make it back by dark. So we went back to the airport, filled up the plane, and headed back to Dallas. Todd dropped me off at Executive Airport and then headed back to his hangar in Navasota. I'm glad I got to share this with you. I didn't think it was going to happen, but thankfully it worked out to where I could. Big thanks to Todd and Vernon for helping make this all work. Because of this piano book community and labs, it's opened my eyes that a lot of these sounds have really cool stories behind them. And I believe that when we know the sounds, we know where they came from, that they actually sound better. At least they do to me, and I hope that they do to you as well. So when you open up the Arctic Wave sound, you can see Vernon in his shop and in his garage laboring over this flute so that I could share it with you and that you can share what you made to the rest of the world. And I think that's remarkable. If you enjoyed this video and you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe, hit the like button. I try to make music related videos as much as I possibly can. And you can go grab free sounds from my website, johnmeyermusic.com, and go pick up Spitfire Labs instruments, the Arctic Swells, from their website, spitfireaudio.com. Talk to you soon.